Morata, il destro, bene per Dybala, sinistro, gol!
Lewandowski, Ball rein damit in die Mitte, Schieber mit dem Kopf, Reus, quer, Linie, Tor!
Golazo de Cristiano Ronaldo para el Real Madrid.
Il est passé Lucas, il est passé, il va tenir ce ballon, le remettre dans la... Quel but extraordinaire d'André Livoria.
Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. It is week 29. I am your host Kris, and as usual I'm joined by some football-loving friends. Call them friends. They don't really like me. They just turn up because they like talking football. We're one short tonight. One member of the team down. Drew's unable to join us, unfortunately, because he's had something come up last minute, which couldn't be avoided. But we send our best to Drew. He's fine. Everything's fine. He'll be back, but he couldn't make this week. But I do have John, and I do have Tom. Good evening to you both.
Good evening, gents.
Sup?
That's becoming your catchphrase now, thanks. It's not big and it's not clever. We have quite an interesting week of games to cover this week, because a lot of our games were played all at the same time, and they will be again in the final week of the season. So we won't waste any time, but we will start what we always do, and that is with our roundups from our various teams, and it's this week's Mighty 90. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Tom, because I think something happened this week involving your Mighty 90 team. So I shall place the stopwatch on ready to go, and your Mighty 90 on Red Bull Salzburg begins now.
Right, okay, so we had to get a point basically, and that would secure the title. And we were against Sturm Graz, who are a team who are pretty decent. They've only lost one of their last 7 matches, so it wasn't going to be easy, especially considering Soriano was injured. And Navigator did return to the bench, but couldn't make the starting lineup. Reina played up front, supported by Lazaro and Minamino. So there was always a chance we'd do well. But it was Sturm Graz who started the better team. Offenbacher, great name, crossed into the box, and Horvath's head could only find the crossbar, and then a shot was hit wide. A bit of a few moment there. And Minamino hit a shot just wide, and Reina found himself one-on-one with the keeper, but Esna made a good save from close range. Berisha then scored the goal of the season in the most definitive game of the season from 35 yards out, smashed in a shot right over the keeper's head in the top right-hand corner. Sturm Graz then did pull a goal back in the second half. Edom Wonyi, what a name that is, worked his way into the box and then finished past Valka to make it 1-1. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough, and the game did finish 1-1. And I must say, I was rather happy of all the times of Mighty 90. It is our first Mighty 90 trophy, and there could be a second coming, because in a couple of weeks we go into the Austrian Cup final to play Admira, so there could be 2 trophies. But just a little stat there, that's our 7th title since Salzburg was brought by the Red Bull company in 2005. So yeah, things are on the up.
Happy days, champions, the very first champions of the Mighty 90, as you rightly say. So, might be the only champions of the Mighty 90 for quite a while. Hey-ho, never mind. Congratulations, of course, to the Bulls. We did give them a little tweet, but they didn't tweet us back, which is a bit rude, but never mind. Right, let's
I like my tweets.
Well, that's good enough. We'll move on then, John, and find out how the Mönchengladbach lads got on this week. So, your time begins now.
Well, it was a home game for the Gladbach, so you know what that means. It can only mean one thing: it was a win. It was a 2-1 win over Bayer Leverkusen. Not massive surprise, I guess. They are brothers in the league, but they basically don't really have anything to play for now. With their Champions League spot all guaranteed. But it was a huge game for us, because us, Mainz, Schalke, are all looking for the last chance for that qualifier spot in the Champions League. And we started really well. Oscar Wendt hit the post, and we forced some really good saves from Leno, but it was actually Leverkusen who scored the opener. The lesser spotted Charles Aranguiz, if anyone remembers who he is, scoring his first goal for Leverkusen. But we got 2 goals back, both from Andre Hahn. Traore forcing a shot to be palmed straight into his feet, so he blasted him from 8 yards. And then the second came in the second half. But for us it's huge, because it basically all but guarantees us now the qualifier spot. to be mathematically guaranteed it, we would need a point on the last game of the season, but basically our goal difference is so superior to the teams behind us that we're pretty much guaranteed it. Last game of the season is away to Darmstadt, but yeah, we look to be in the Champions League next season. It's huge. Schubert was on the pitch celebrating with the players, and the players are really, really happy. It'll just be really exciting to see what happens next season, especially with some of the players being linked away to the club, who's going to be coming in, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Superb. It should be fun. Of course, never even thought about the fact that Schubert's kind of his first season, really, isn't it? So,
yeah. Amazing to think, we're going to finish qualifier spot after losing the first 5 games of the season.
Yeah, the mess they're in previously. That's quite a turnaround. But good. Okay, super. That just leaves me, of course. I should say, for all of our listeners that might be interested in what happened on the final day of the Eredivisie, stay tuned, because we do have an update on the end of the season in Holland. I can tell you, in Drew's absence, Feyenoord did win. So they were always going to win with Drew not here, weren't they? But Dirk Kuyt getting the winner against NEC. So they won 1-0. Kout.
Kill you.
Kout Kuyt. They finished third. So well done to Feyenoord. So there's Drew's very mini Mighty 90 update. Right, let's go French then, and I'll give you my update indeed now. It's time for a bit of Lorient watch, and my time begins now. So this week, well, it's yet another defeat, yet another poor week for Lorient, unfortunately. I think I must have put a jinx on them when I said they were doing well. This week they travelled to Bordeaux. And Les Merlot they haven't actually won at Bordeaux in well over 20 years. So it wasn't a particularly big surprise that they only went and lost. They made a couple of changes. Barthelme, Cabot and Karamoko all getting starts for Ripoll's men. The home side were pretty much on top from the outset, though. Malcolm, interesting name, Brazilian, standard. He fired them one up on 12 minutes. And they never really looked back, Bordeaux. 11 minutes later, they were 2 up. Diabate turning in from close range after a corner was knocked down into his path. So not going well, and Lecomte actually was forced to turn aside a Malcolm free kick just before half time. Bordeaux were very comfortable. Second half, much the same, one-way traffic. Soon it was 3-0. Diabate grabbing his second of the game, firing in past Lecomte at the near post, and the Lorient keeper, I would venture to suggest, would be slightly disappointed. Beat at the near post, not ideal. And luckily, despite the fact that Lorient do lose this game and lose it comfortably, they are safe. They were safe as of last week, so maybe that's the reason. It was not a good performance. Only 1 win in 9. Not good. They finish at home to Gazalec Ajaccio in a game that means far more to Gazalec than it does to Lorient. 16th in the table, 43 points. So yes, they are safe, but we will be looking for a better start next season. So there we go. That's Lorient's update for another week. And I have to be honest, I'll be glad when the season is over for the men in orange. Right, let's move on then. And despite Drew not being here, we're going to... in fact, no, we're not. We're not going to start with the Bundesliga because I haven't given you any stats, have I? Goodness gracious me. Look at me racing ahead of myself. So, rewind and let's take a trip into the world of football. Joys of live podcasts, everybody. Right then, so the world of football. Let's get some stats out. So, goals-wise, this weekend, starting in the Premier League, we had 29 goals in the Premier League this weekend. There were 2 clean sheets. There was one red card, 4 home wins, 3 away wins from the 10 games. In France, in Liga, we had 24 goals, 8 clean sheets, 3 red cards, 7 home wins, 2 away wins for the 10 games. In Spain, in La Liga, 28 goals, 4 clean sheets, 3 red cards, 5 home wins, 2 away for the 10 played. And in Italy, we had 23 goals, 5 clean sheets, 5 red cards, lovely, 3 home wins, 5 away wins from the 10 games played. And finally in Germany, 18 goals, 4 clean sheets, 1 red card, 3 home wins, and 4 away wins from the 9 games played. Bringing us for our weekly totals then, 122 goals, 23 clean sheets, 13 red cards, 22 wins were at home, 16 were away from the 49 played. A couple of cherry-picked stats for you. We all picked one this week. 0-0 draws was one we've picked out this week. 32 in the Premier League to date. 33 in France in Liga, 25 in Spain in La Liga, 30 in Serie A, and 23 in the Bundesliga. We also picked out most goals in a game, on average 9 times. Most goals in the game was in the Premier League this year. Also 9 in France, 12 in La Liga, 7 in Italy, and 8 in Germany in the Bundesliga. And the final one, this is a real hipster one that John picked out, highest goal differential stats. 6 times Premier League has had that honour. 9 times in France, 8 times in La Liga, 6 times in Italy, and finally 6 times in the Bundesliga. So there's a couple of little juicy stats to wet your whistle, and our thanks to Kelly for compiling those every week as usual. Right, now we're going to take a trip into our weekly roundup, and as I briefly mentioned earlier, despite Drew not being around, we are going to start in the Bundesliga this week. Right, John, over to you because you're gonna play me for a little bit because I'm gonna fill in for Drew. So take it away.
Yeah, I get to host twice this week. It's very exciting. Now, obviously, I've already given my report, and the Gladbach got the perfect result, but it was also thanks to a few other results from this weekend. So one of the teams we want to look at is Schalke, and playing Salzburg. Schalke were one of the chasing packs who still had a chance in the Champions League, but didn't get the result they needed.
No, they really didn't. I was following along actually in the Bundesliga games. Luckily, who'd have thought, me watching a lot of football? But yeah, Schalke, it was a game that flattered to deceive and was not particularly entertaining for long periods, in truth. And then it kind of exploded in the last 10 minutes. And that man, Klaus-Jan Huntelaar, yep, he's still around. He put them in front with just 8 minutes to spare. And it looked like Schalke were home and hosed and going into Europe and all was good. And then it kind of went all a bit Schalke. Augsburg grabbing a last-minute equaliser from Bayern, and 1-1 draw. It doesn't really suit Schalke at all because, as I say, they're in this three-way fight with Mainz and Hertha as far as that one of those UEFA Cup spot or Europa League spots goes. Going old school there, and for Augsburg, it's another point. Obviously, they're safe. I say obviously, barring an absolute avalanche of goals, they're safe. So they're mid-table in 11th place, so they'll be the happier of the two. And Schalke, who I think it's probably fairly likely that Brighton Reiter will be gone in the summer. There's a lot of talk about who could replace him. Vine still seems to be the obvious choice. But yes, that's where it ended, and points shared. Yeah,
still funny season for Schalke. A little bit disappointed for them, but they're at least guaranteed a Europa League qualifier spot, maybe a Europa League proper, depending on the last day of the season still.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On to our next game. Stuttgart, right down at the bottom, who I think mathematically can still get out of it, just about. They faced off against Mainz, who, again, real surprise package of the season, right up there, and also battling for the Champions League spots. And it went the way of the surprise package.
Yes, yeah, it did. It didn't appear to be because Stuttgart took the early lead. Don't forget Stuttgart, the same Stuttgart that were battered 6-2 on Monday by Werder Bremen at the time of recording last week. So they really were in freefall. They can mathematically still survive because, of course, in Germany you have this sort of playoff place. So the bottom two are gone automatically. We know Hanover have already gone, and the second bottom goes, but the third bottom plays off with the team third in the Bundesliga 2. So you have sort of got a chance, but Stuttgart are going to need to perform on the final day because they ended up losing this game 3-1. So they went in front through Christian Gentner. Yunus Mali, friend of the pod, Jan Zim's favourite. He got the equaliser. John Cordoba, who was outstanding on the day, got the second. And Onis Siwo, who was also outstanding on the day, the young winger, he got the third on 77. Really good comeback win for Mainz. They've really impressed a lot of people. I know they've impressed Drew a lot this season as well. Puts them up to 5th, so they're in pole position now to qualify for the Europa League, which is a pretty decent achievement, it has to be said, for a side of their budget. But as for Stuttgart, what could you say? I mean, they're just in an absolute mess. I mean, defeat after defeat after defeat, 5th on a spin. And they've managed to ship, wait for it, 72 goals this season in 33 games. I think that might be where their problems lie. So they are going to be right up against it to survive on the final day, which we'll cover in the fixtures.
They'd have an interesting game against Aston Villa, I think.
Oof, that would be quite an assault on the eyes. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
They are away at Wolfsburg, by the way, on the final day. So
For us, yeah. So it's going to be tough if they get themselves out of it.
indeed.
Now, what the one team that they can possibly catch and jump above is Eintracht Frankfurt. It still seems very unlikely, and they had a really tough test against Borussia Dortmund, but they got themselves a perfect result, unbelievably.
They did, yeah. Really surprising. Surprising in the fact that there was only one goal, because very rarely do Dortmund play games with only one goal. I think they've averaged 2 goals a game in pretty much every game this season. And even more surprising, they kept a clean sheet, Frankfurt that is, and of course they got the victory. Dortmund, I think it's fair to say, were a little bit sort of resigned to the fact that Bayern Munich were going to win the league, and they did, of course, on the day. So that might have played into their performance, but they had chances, but couldn't convert. And the goal from Stefan Aigner, who's been superb of late for Frankfurt, keeps the Eagles in with a fighting chance of staying up. They are out of all the relegation places as we speak, which is obviously where they want to finish. Another tough finish for them on the end of the season. More on that in a second. But yes, a massive 3 points for them. There is actually talk that my favourite centre forward Alex Meyer, who really is their talisman, the Zlatan of Frankfurt, if you will, budget Zlatan. There is talk that he is actually going to be fit if they do end up in that playoff spot. So if they do have to play a playoff to stay up, he should be back. So that's good news. But I've got a sneaky feeling they're actually going to escape it altogether, and this result will help that. And as for Dortmund, as I say, they know they can't win the title now. I think it's the Deutsche Pokal final is going to be their focus now. So you kind of understand a little bit if some of their players were taking it a little bit easy.
Yeah, as you say, Munich, obviously everyone already knows that the confirmed champions, because Dortmund needed to win this, and I think Munich had to lose this weekend for any chance, of it going to the last day of the season.
Yeah.
But, great result for Frankfurt, and I mean, if they do end up in the playoffs, I still think it's unlikely, but having Meyer back would be huge for them.
Absolutely.
Last game to talk about. Now, I promise, because it's all the teams that are below Gladbach, and I'm really happy that they all lost. But it was Drew who picked all these out, because they are the big games this weekend. Hertha, another sort of surprise to be how high up they are on the table. They lost to Darmstadt, of all people. I was amazed when I saw the results from this weekend. I was jumping about like an idiot, but just shocked. I couldn't believe it.
No, it really was a shock, and Darmstadt surprised a lot of people because less said about my beloved Paderborn the better. Who, well, I think they've gone now but they've gotten double relegations, bless their hearts. But they were the sort of style based around last season where they had a really good home crowd and plucky and fought and all that. And Darmstadt and Ingolstadt have kind of taken on that mantra this year of trying to sort of sit in deep and be hard to beat. And Darmstadt are not pretty to watch, I think it would be fair to say, but they get the job done. And once again, they did it here. Hertha's form has been pretty poor, to be fair. 4 straight defeats, including this one. So, yeah, I wouldn't say you could see it coming, but I guess you could have seen that there would be an opportunity at least. But when Hertha went in front through Derrida, you thought, yeah, standard, normal service resumed, they'll win this game. And then Gondorf equalised, and Sandra Wagner, that man, popped up with 8 minutes to go and won the game. So I mean, it's a huge victory for Darmstadt, because it all but secures them now. Again, barring an avalanche of goals, they should be all right. As far as sort of mid-table, they're in 13th now. So big result for them. To stay in the Bundesliga would have been their target. Keeping Sandra Wagner, who was actually later sent off, I should say, in this game, will be another target. But great result for them. And Hertha, I don't think they're going to get into Europe. I mean, they're in 6th as we speak, but their form would suggest they're going to struggle on the final day, and this really good season might actually end in nothing.
Yeah, a bit disappointing for them. I think their position guarantees at least a qualifier spot for the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, Drew's not here. Let me double check. Yes, it does, yeah.
Oh, of course, because they can't go lower than 7th. You're right.
They can't go lower than 7th. So yeah, they're guaranteed at least a Europa League qualifier spot. But it's funny, Hertha, because they've been in such great form, you think they would be disappointed not getting in the Champions League, but for them to get into Europe at all is still a massive achievement. But it's just the run they were on, it seems a bit of a damp end to the season.
Kind of what could have been, almost.
Yeah. But anyway, such is life, so we'll move on, and if you just give us a roundup of the rest of the games.
Yes, well, as you mentioned, obviously, mentioned Gladbach getting that victory over Leverkusen, so we covered that one. Hamburg lost at home to Wolfsburg. Luis Gustavo, of all people, with the winner there. Bit of a surprise result, given Wolfsburg's recent form. Cologne, or Cologne, whichever you prefer, Werder Bremen 0-0. Not ideal result, that, for Werder Bremen. I think I'm right in saying it's the first time this season Werder haven't conceded. It's certainly been for a very long time. So there's a stat.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Hanover actually won, even though they're down. Kiyotaki with the winner. They beat Hoffenheim 1-0, which keeps Hoffenheim in and around that danger area. And finally, as you mentioned earlier, Bayern Munich, they are the champions, just for a change. I think AC Jimbo said it best on Football Weekly when he said it's the first time they've been champions in 12 months. So well done to them. But they won 2-1 at Ingolstadt, 2 from Lewandowski, 1 back from Hartmann. They have won the league. I can give you the table if you like.
Yeah, fire away, mate.
So Bayern, as we said, champions, 85 points, 33 played, 1 game to go, of course, in the Bundesliga. Dortmund are secure in second on 77. You've then got 57 Leverkusen, qualified for the Champions League. Then you've got your boys Gladbach for fourth, 52 points. They are all but secure, I think I'm right in saying, in the Champions League.
Yeah, it would be a huge goal difference swing needed.
It's about, was it 12 goals odd? So yeah,
Something
bizarre.
like that.
Mainz are 5th, 49. Hertha 6th, 49. Schalke 7th, 49. So it's a question of who goes into the automatic spot and who doesn't there. And then you've got Wolfsburg, Köln and Ingolstadt make up the top 10. Down at the bottom, Hanover we know have gone. Then it's anyone from Stuttgart, Werder, Eintracht Frankfurt, Hoffenheim, Darmstadt, Hamburg, or Augsburg could all technically end up in those last 2 spots. If you had to put money on it, it's going to be a tough one to call. But if you look at the final fixtures, I must admit I haven't picked up a game to watch because Drew would have done that. But if you look at that relegation battle at the bottom, Ingolstadt are away at Leverkusen, Stuttgart away at Wolfsburg, Hamburg away at Augsburg, Eintracht Frankfurt away at Werder Bremen. That's the biggie. Really is biggie. Winner takes all really. Hoffenheim home to Schalke, and Darmstadt are home to Mönchengladbach. So it's really is pick 'em. I honestly couldn't call it, but I would say the winner of Frankfurt and Bremen. I would suggest if there's a winner in that game, the team that loses could be gone. So there is hope for Stuttgart, but beating Wolfsburg is not going to be easy for them.
No, not at all. So that is our Bundesliga section done. Apologies if we're not as good as Drew. We do try our best, and he did give us some good information.
Yeah, we never could be. He has, however, very kindly answered a couple of your questions, listeners. So when we get to the listeners' questions, if you've asked a Bundesliga question, I think all of them bar one were answered by Drew. So I shall read you his answers when we get there.
Yep.
Right.
All over to you, mate.
Thanking you. We'll leave the Bundesliga behind. As I say, I haven't picked out a game, but all of the games finish on next Saturday at 2:30 UK time. So all the games played simultaneously. Do tune in. It should be fun. Right, speaking of fun, let's move on to Spain, because there's quite a lot going on in the title race and the relegation zone. And over to Tom we go for this week's La Liga. Right then, Tom, let's see what's going on. Now, we're going to kind of split your section into 2 here. We're going to kind of do 3 games in 2, if you will, because we're going to start in the title race, because going into the weekend, it was any one from 3. But I think I'm right in saying, you can put these games into 1 if you like, it's now 1 from 2. Let's start with, should we start with Real Madrid? Mm-hmm. So they played at home to Valencia. I always want to say Gary Neville's Valencia, but of course it's not anymore.
No, it's really not anymore.
No. They came out victors, but didn't have it their own way, did they?
No, I think it was a lot tougher than Real Madrid expected. They took the lead though, starting very well just on 26 minutes. Ronaldo dribbled across Valencia's box, then hit a great cross, reverse hit shot from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the goal past Diego Alves to make it 1-0. And then they made it 2 quite comfortably. 42nd minute, Benzema had an instinctive attempt blocked, but the ball came to him after Kris applied a lot of pressure to the Valencia defence, and it was an easy finish. It was in fact offside for the first attempt, and the goal shouldn't have stood. But Real Madrid, we won't go any further with that. Valencia did get back in the game though. After Parejo had hit the bar of a free kick, Rodrigo took advantage of a poor Varane clearance and finished very well into the right hand side of the net. And then it went 3-1 3-1 up Real Madrid. Ronaldo, that man again, running down the left-hand side, and his left foot shot went straight past Diego Alves. Probably could do better, but I've said that about that guy so many times this season. And then Valencia tried to get back into the game again. They hit the woodwork again. Parejo, once again, the person getting that accolade. And then he was involved in the goal, which got them to 3-2. Laid off Gomez, the Portuguese centre midfielder, who smashed a shot into the top right-hand side of the goal. Probably the goal of the weekend. And that's how it finished, although there was a sending off. Valencia's Rodrigo was sent off for calling the assistant referee a wimp. A wimp. That was all he got called, and he got a red card. So you've got to be careful, lads.
Don't call people names, boys and girls. Now, of course, we should say as well that, again, all these games were played simultaneously, so it wasn't like anyone knew what the other was doing. It was a question of playing all the games and cracking on. So at the same time as Real Madrid were winning, let's turn the focus on one of the other teams that were chasing, and they would be that Atletico Madrid, all conquering, and everyone expected them to go to lowly Levante and win. And something went a bit wrong. Oh,
it did. But it started well at already relegated Levante. Torres, also, I must say, Levante beat them last season, so if that was an omen, it surely worked out here. And as I say, they started well, though. Torres was slipped in by Koke, and the Spanish striker, who's continued his prolific form, which could see him get a Spanish spot for the Euros, was easily chipping over Diego Marino to make it 1-0. But then calamity as Quero, his cross found Casadeas, I think that's how you pronounce it, headed him to make it 1-1. And that you probably could have heard the rules from the new camp in Valencia at that point. But then Atleti began to search for that winner. Savic saw a header just wide, and then Atleti's Juanfran was denied a penalty after Levante's Juanfran, and the substitute Ruben Garcia appeared to sandwich the fullback in the box, but it wasn't given. And then right at the death, Atleti had everyone pushed up, and Morales laid over Giuseppe Rossi, who's had an excellent time since coming in from Fiorentina, and they made it 2-1 to knock Atleti out of the race.
Ouch. And I saw that penalty, and for me, Juanfran is looking for it. There is a suspicion of the sandwich, but my goodness me, does he go down too easily? So just quickly, just a quick side note, Barcelona in this title race were, of course, in it as well. They played your boys Espanyol, and it didn't end too well for your boys.
No, I didn't. I was looking for another Tamudazo moment, which anyone don't know is when Tamudo scored an equaliser, which got Real Madrid the league in 2006, I believe. But no, Suarez got a brace, Messi got a free kick, Rafinha got an easy finish after Pau really messed up a little catch, and Neymar scored as well. So, quite easy for Barca, and they go away to Granada on the last day to seal successive back-to-back titles.
Interesting, and you would expect them to win there, but you never know. Let's go down to the bottom then. And we'll have a look at Getafe first of all, because they were playing Sporting Gijón, and it was quite a big one, this, because the two were next to each other in the table, and at the end of this game, they are still next to each other in the table.
Yes, they are, and it started off a bit lucky for Getafe. Lassen really should have been sent off for pulling down Ismael Lopez of Sporting Gijón, but it wasn't given. The ref waved play on. Sarabia then had a shot pushed onto the post by Quella, and this was probably the best shot of the first half, because then into the second half, Sporting found the net. Carlos Carmona flicked up the ball for Sergio Alvarez to instinctively and acrobatically shoot past Guita. And Sporting were looking pretty good until a few minutes later, Nacho Casas received a second yellow and was sent off. And then finally, 24 minutes after that, in the 80th minute, Skepovic headed in the Pedro Leon's free kick to level it at 1-1, and that's where the point stayed. But that doesn't really fancy either team.
No, not ideal. That's the lad from Celtic, isn't it, Skepovic?
Yes.
I think, yeah, on loan. Interesting. Final game then, just again going down to the bottom end of things. Who saw this coming? Even after a busy midweek game in Europa League for Sevilla, where they clinched across the place in the final, they turned up at the San Mamés to face Granada. Bizarre. Is that the word?
I'm not sure, because Sevilla's really quite unpredictable this year. Of course, they haven't won away from home all season, and so I thought they would come in this game with their last game of the season at home and come in and try and win. But that wasn't the case. Granada took the lead in stoppage time in the first half. Cuenca, who had a great game, chest down El Arabi's cross and then brilliantly finished with his right foot into the right-hand side of the goal. Second half, Diego Gonzalez got Sevilla back into the game after he brilliantly flicked in Escudero's sliced effort. And then it went a bit of mad in the last 10 minutes. Firstly, Babin headed in Cuenca's long ball, and then El Arabi scored a penalty to make it 3-1. And then to really put salt in the wounds, Cuenca capped up a great performance by latching onto a loose ball and finishing calmly. So that means Granada are safe.
Safe, and that's got to be a good thing, because given the situation that they were in going into the game, as you said, necessarily we expected them to pick up anything from it. So, wow, interesting. Anywho, let's have a look at what else was going on then, results-wise, from the weekend's fixtures.
Yeah, sure. So in the final relegation game, Rayo couldn't take advantage of a Sociedad red card when at 2-1 in the game they were down in San Sebastian. Oyarzabal and Batista getting the goals for Sociedad. And Guerrero got an excellent goal for Rayo, but as I say, they lost. Villarreal didn't recover from their Europa League exit, going 2-0 down to Deportivo at home. Fair and Lucas Perez with the goals. Eibar and Betis played out a typical match that didn't mean anything, drawing 1-1. Ruben Castro, of course, put Betis one up, and in the Basque country, and then Sergio Enrique scored for Eibar. Bilbao and Celta switched places after Bilbao's 0-0 draw at Las Palmas. Celta managed to get a well-fought 1-0 win at home to Malaga thanks to their talisman Nolito.
And a man who might be off in the summer, if you believe reports. Where are we at table-wise then? As we say, it's only two that can win the title, and the relegation zone is equally tight, I gather.
Yes, it is. Up the top, it's Barcelona on 88, Real Madrid on 87, Atletico out of it now on 85, Villarreal on 64, Celta on 60, and Bilbao on 59. At the bottom, it's Levante on 32, Rayo on 35, Sporting 36, Getafe 36 also, and Granada safe on 39.
Well, hey, it's all getting tight, What about a game to keep an eye on? Because it's the final weekend. And as you say, all the games we played simultaneously. So are you going to be keeping an eye on the title race, or are you going to be keeping an eye on the bottom end?
All of it, mate. So Real Madrid are away at Depor, and Barcelona are away at Granada. And then down at the bottom, Sporting Gijón host Villarreal, and Getafe are away at Betis, and Rayo at home to Levante.
Busy. I shouldn't really ask for a highlight game this week, is it? Because we're all going to say the same. We're going to watch like 8 games at the same time. So pretty pointless, really.
At different time, actually. So
it's going to be quite fun, actually, end of season, isn't it? I think so many games going on, and so much to deal with at so many different levels. In fact, all the games other than the Premier League. Irony of all ironies. Anyway, there's no news, is there, that you can think of this week?
Oh, Valeron retired from Las Palmas, but great career, 40 years old, played for Deportivo for a long time, and it's sad to see him go, but a very classy footballer.
Yeah, saying about him pre-pod, an absolute legend of a man. Super. We wish him all the best in his retirement. Right, let's move on then. And John, it's time to come over to you again for your little segment of the week. And it's into Italy we go for this week's Serie A. Right then, John, where shall we start? Let's start in Rome with Roma, who faced a tricky-looking tie, maybe, at home to Chievo. How did it go?
It couldn't have been more comfortable. A very easy 3-0 win. They're still in the hunt for possibly taking the second space in the league from Napoli, so getting the automatic Champions League spot, and it got off perfectly for them. 10 minutes in, Raja Nainggolan, as he does, nice low drive from the edge of the box, bang, 1-0. Second goal, Chievo gave a really stupid free kick on the left-hand side of their 18-yard box, which you don't want to do when Miralem Pjanic is in the opposition team. So he stepped up and put in an inch-perfect ball for Anthony Rudiger, completely unmarked at the back stick. Easiest sort of 2-yard heading. Very, very simple goal. And then the third goal, and the most cheered of the entire game, it was Pjanic himself who scored it, but it was more about the man who got the assist, Francesco Totti, who despite the apparent arguments with Spalletti and all that the media are trying to make out as, Spalletti's done the perfect thing with him, because every time he's brought him on, he's got a goal or he's got an assist and he's turned the game round, and he gets the loudest cheer in the stadium. So possibly his last home game. There is a rumour going around now that he might do another year at Roma, which would be amazing if he does it. But yeah, so we're still yet to find out what's going to happen with Totti. But yeah, perfect result for them, exactly what they needed, and put all the pressure on Napoli.
I think we all hope he stays. God bless him. And as you say, he's doing the business. And whatever you think of Spalletti, he seems to be using him quite well. Let's move on to Frosinone, who are desperately trying to stay up, or were, I should say. Sadly, that journey has come to an end as they lost at home to Sassuolo. Yeah,
very disappointing. They lost 1-0 to Sass. They played really well, Frosinone. They were fantastic. The crowd was great. The atmosphere for it was fantastic. Sassuolo themselves were also quite important because they have a chance of getting a Europa League spot, which is very, very impressive for such a small team. But yes, Frosinone needed the win basically to take it to the last game of the season for any chance of them staying up. And they started the game great. Consigli was on fine form for Sassuolo, and basically was pretty much, it was him and the posts that stopped Frosinone from scoring the goals, because he was amazing. Ciafani even at one point just got so fed up with shooting, he tried to lob him and still the post stopped the ball going in. Craggle as well, who I think the other week I said about his amazing free kick. He struck another one of those, again straight off the post. But in the end it was Politano for Sassuolo, who got on the end of a Berardi cross to get all 3 points for Sass. So massive for them, but yeah, sad for Frosinone. But as they were relegated, it was obviously all announced, and the whole crowd cheered. All the Sassuolo fans applauded, and even the Sassuolo team as well applauded the entire Frosinone team. So there was no bad feeling or anything. They were all chanting what gentlemen they've been and how amazing it's been to watch them. So disappointing that they could stay up in their first season, but they were looking to bounce back.
Yeah, nice touch, and hopefully they do come back, because it was quite fun having them around. Let's move on then to our next game, and this was a Sunday evening game because Serie A was still staggered over the weekend. Torino, who faced Napoli, and quite a good game this, to be fair, wasn't it? And Napoli coming out winners. Yeah,
all the pressure was on Napoli. Had to get their spot back in second place from Roma, who are going to push them now to the last game of the season, which is quite exciting. They needed to get that place back, and Torino have been, not in bad form. It's not an easy place to go. But 10 minutes in, guess who stepped up and got the goal? Gonzalo Higuain. Nice assist from Hamsik. I think that's his 33rd goal in Serie A this season. The first man to achieve that since Antonio Valentin Angelino. Then that was in 1958-59 season. So quite some achievement for him. That was the first. Callejon then stepped up and got the second. 10 minutes later, Hamsik again, pulling out onto the left flank. Nice pullback, and just beat the Torino offside trap. They did manage to get one back. Bruno Perez, I know a favourite of yours, Kris. I don't know if you've seen the goal. It's very confusing because he hits it on the volley, and I'm not sure if he's tried to absolutely lever it and misconnected, or he's intentionally tried to lob Pepe Reina. But it sort of spoons up in the air, and Reina gets a paw to it, but can't quite keep it out. Koulibaly actually fell through and broke the net trying to clear it off the line, and the game was delayed as they had to repair the net as there was a massive hole in it. It's an interesting strike. I'm still not sure whether he meant it or not. If he did, it's amazing. He's very, very, very good. It was a really good ball from Vives. Unfortunately, Vives' day didn't get any better as he got a second yellow card in injury time and got himself sent off. But perfect result for Napoli, just what they needed. Keep the pressure on for the last day of the season, so it's a straight shootout between them and Roma as to who gets second place and the automatic Champions League spot. A bit disappointing for Torino, but some individuals have had some good performances and might have got themselves into international managers' thinkings for the upcoming Euros.
Absolutely, particularly with a certain PSG man not going to be present. We shall see.
And as for Higuain, I think he needs, if I remember correctly, I think it's 2 more goals to equal the record. No one has ever scored more than 35 goals in a Serie A season. It's only been done twice, I believe, and that was back in the 50s. So, Pepita is very close. He needs to do it on the last day.
That is quite an impressive record, whether you like or don't like him. That is stats to speak of. Speaking of stats to speak of, that brings us finally to Juventus, who have torn up most record books this season. But they ended this game with a defeat, but that wasn't the story as they went to Hellas Verona, was it?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it is a story in itself in the fact that it's the first loss they've had in Serie A in 26 games, which is just ridiculous. So that's the last time they lost was in October to Sassuolo. But yeah, it was all about Luca Toni today. It was his last ever game. He was retiring before his 40th birthday, and he retired in style. Verona got a, we'll say, somewhat weak penalty awarded. Sorry, that's the dog you can hear. Verona got a very weak penalty. Alexandro giving it away, slightly harsh, but Luca Toni stepped up and decided, it's the last game, may as well score a classy goal, and Panenka straight down the middle. It must be said it was Neto in goal, not Buffon. But even the Juve fans, they applauded him and allowed his trademark celebration. Viviani got on the end of a Ianita cross for the second goal. Juve's one goal back was through Paladibola. In injury time, they got themselves a penalty as well. But Alexandra also did actually get sent off in the game for a very stupid challenge late on. But it was all about Luca Toni. Scenes for him. There was tears at the end of the game. Just amazing. As for Juventus, it was a bit of a wake up call. There was a few players rested, the likes of Buffon and a few of the back three. But they'll be looking forward to the Coppa Italia final against Milan, and I'm sure everyone will be back and focused for that. But yeah, I've got a little bit about Luca Toni at the end.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and we will indeed come to that. What do we have as far as the rest of the results of the weekend goes?
Yep, just quickly, you've got Inter 2-1 against Empoli. Bologna lost 1-0 at home to Milan. Fiorentina and Palermo got 0-0, a good result for Palermo. Carpi unfortunately lost, not great for them, against Lazio 3-1. Samp lost 3-0 at home to Genoa. Atalanta got a 1-0 with Udinese, which is great for Udinese. It got them out of the relegation scrap. So the table now, the only real sort of talking points, as I said, Juventus champions, 88 points, but Napoli on 79 and Roma on 77 in second and third place. So that will go down to the wire for who gets the automatic spot. Inter are safe in fourth place on 67, so they are in the Europa League. The last spot for the Europa League at the moment, Fiorentina have it. They're on 61 points, but Sassuolo just behind them on 58, so they could still get in there possibly. Down at the bottom, we know Verona are relegated on 28 points. Frosinone now also join them on 31, and then it will be one from Carpi or Palermo. Carpi on 35, Palermo on 36. So one of those two will be going down. So we'll find out. That will be on the last day of the season. Really
torn on that because I kind of love Carpi, and yeah, great, and Palermo I've kind of always had a soft spot for. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, the last run of games in Serie A also runs over 2 days. It doesn't run on one day, which I know is very strange.
That is strange, because are the two relegation clubs played on different days then?
No, they're not. Yeah, the Saturday games basically Milan versus Roma and Napoli against Frosinone. So Frosinone, had they won, would have had a slight advantage, I suppose. Although playing away at Napoli probably isn't an advantage.
Yeah.
So if Roma win, Roma and Napoli play at the same time, so they won't be able to know each other's results, obviously, so they'll both just have to go for it. So Roma have definitely got the harder of the games there. Palermo host Verona, obviously already relegated, and Carpi are away at Udinese, who are now safe. So yeah, I really cannot pick what happens there. Sassuolo are away to Inter as well, because there was some funny rumours of Inter basically going to let Sassuolo win if Milan had a chance of getting into Europe, because it would stop them. But obviously that's not the case anymore, because Milan can't make it anyway. Haha.
Collusion in Italy. Who'd have thought there'd be any sort of scandal in Italy?
Yeah.
Can't believe it. So in the absence of news, you just want to give us a couple of stats on the great man. As you say, we're losing Luca Toni. We're losing Toto Di Natale as well, and possibly Totti. It's like the end of an era.
Yeah, he's been called the last great Italian striker from the peninsula. So just give you some stats on him. He started his career in 94-95 at Modena. He's played 658 league games, 306 goals. The teams he's played for, he's a bit of a journeyman in Serie A in particular, but for Modena, Empoli, Fiorenzuola, Lodigiani, Treviso, Vicenza, Brescia, Palermo, Fiorentina. Then he went to Germany for a while for Bayern Munich. He also had a big falling out with Van Gaal and played for Bayern Munich 2. Or Zwei, I suppose they would be called. He played for Roma, Genoa, Juventus, brief period at Al Nassr as well, back to Fiorentina, and then finally with Verona. Some of his achievements: he won Serie B with Palermo, he won the Liga Pokal, he won the DFB Pokal, the Bundesliga, obviously won the World Cup with Italy in 2006 as well. Serie B top scorer in 03-04, Serie A top scorer in 05-06, and again last season, the oldest player ever to achieve that status. Is the only Italian ever to win the European Golden Shoe, which really did amaze me. Bundesliga and UEFA top goal scorer in 2007-2008. He scored 16 and 47 for Italy, including scoring 2 in the quarterfinals in 06 against Ukraine, and wrongly had a goal disallowed in the final against the cheating French. Disgusting, yeah. But, you know, the Italians still won on penalties, so it's all fine. Amazing player. I've always loved watching, and my favourite quote from him is from all the way back in 2006. Said, "What is the point in me retiring from football? I'm never going to be any slower."
That's a moniker I can live by. Love that. He always reminded me. Him and Christian Vieri were always two of my favourites. But yeah, quality. Another sad loss, but I'm sure he'll pop up. Probably coaching one day. He's
already talked about maybe helping Verona, try and get them back straight into Serie A, and said not necessarily coaching because he's seen that for every 12 months you put into coaching, you age 5 years. As he said, all his friends have done. So he said maybe a technical director's role, something nice and easy like that.
Yeah, true. That's the way to go. Super. Okay. Well, that's Italy then for another week, and tune in next week and see who does go and who does indeed stay, and of course who ends up in the Champions League. So interesting. All right. I'll ping it back to you again, then, John, as we'll wrap up our little voyage around the European Big Four with a trip to France, and it's this week's Liga.
Yep, so in France this week, as we know already, PSG obviously won the title, but it's all to play for in the European spots and down the bottom. So first we'll start off with what was probably the decider for the the Champions League spot at all. It was Lyon against Monaco, and wow, Lyon certainly did a number on them.
They did, yes, they did. I'm really torn because I love watching Lyon. I'm kind of a fan of PSG just because I kind of want them to do something in Europe to put French football on the map, however ironic that would be with the millions they've got. And of course I follow Lorient, so I'm really torn on who to follow. But the one thing about Lyon, sorry, not Lorient at the moment at all, but one thing about Lyon at the moment is they are a joy to watch, especially in this form, and they absolutely crushed Monaco, who weren't helped, in fairness, by a piece of absolute madness from Lachina Traore, who contrived to get himself sent off inside the first 25 minutes. He actually got booked twice in the space of about a minute and a half for 2 identical fouls, which were just lunacy. But still, Lyon by that point were probably home and dry, in fairness. Ghazal put them in front on 3 minutes. Alexandre Lacazette got the first of his hat-trick on 8 minutes. Yanga Biwa decided to bag one of his first goals of the season. 34 minutes. Lacazette a minute later made it 4-0. Ricardo Carvalho pulled one back after a terrible piece of goalkeeping, as we said, from Lopez. And Yangan Biwa obviously had to taste. He grabbed his second of the game and Lyon's fifth in 59. And Alex Lacazette popped up with his hat-trick goal on the 80th minute. Do check out his hat-trick, particularly the second goal. Lovely little dink, that one. But huge result for Lyon. As you rightly say, they pretty much have clinched second place now, so they will be in the Champions League, which could be key in keeping some of their stars. More on that in a second. And as far as sort of statistically, I've just pulled out a couple here for Lyon in their new home. 30 goals in 10 games. Not bad, is it? So you get your money's worth, and they only need 1 point to 100% secure that second place spot now. As for Monaco, well, wheels have come crashing off. 3 wins in the last 10. They could actually end up fourth, not even in the Champions League, which would be an absolute nightmare for them, and definitely for Rybolovlev, their owner, who is still hemorrhaging money at the club. So that could be a real dent to them. They have to win against Montpellier at home to guarantee that third spot. So pressure is on Leonardo Jardim's men, and I have a funny feeling, I might be wrong, but I don't think he'll be there next season.
Yeah, I suspect not. It started well for him, didn't it? And I thought he was going to do well there, but it's all gone a bit sour. Now, moving on to the next game, the team that could usurp them for the third spot, and also have a starlet who may be heading to Barcelona, if you believe some newspapers. Nice got a very good 2-0 win over Saint Etienne.
Yes, OGC Nice rolls off the tongue. Yes, they did, and they had to wait for it all the way to the 86th minute. In fact, it was largely a bit of a nothing game until 10 minutes into the second half when Kevin Melsuy got sent off for his second bookable offence. For St Etienne, it put all the pressure on them, and to make it even worse, Frank Tabadou, on loan from Swansea, he got himself sent off as well. So they were down to 9 men after the 72nd minute. But it was a game of fairly few chances, and then a player that I do like him, Valéry Germain, ironically on loan from Monaco, who of course he could end up knocking out of the Champions League spaces. He got the 2 late goals at 86 and 89 minutes. He's one of those strikers that just seems to pop up just when they need him most. And to be fair, since he's come in to Nice, he's got 14 league goals this season, which is pretty impressive. So he's hoping to fire Nice into that Champions League spot in third, and you never know, they just might do it. But it says 12 wins in 19 at home for Nice. That's where their bedrock has been, the home form. And they've been the great entertainers. Only Lyon and PSG have actually scored more goals than them this season. So they've been entertaining. I'd like to see them sneak in just for sort of somebody different's sake, I guess. And as for St Etienne, it's their first defeat in 7, but it's the worst possible time for it, just when they needed a good result. So now they are fighting for the Europa League. Quietly confident they'll be all right, but with Lille just behind them, they are the only challengers for that spot. It's going to be tight come the final game of the season. Yeah,
it would be cool if Nice get in there, but I suspect Ben Arfa will be off. Probably not to Barcelona, but I'm sure there was quite a few clubs still looking at him. Now, PSG were away to Gazalek. Now, as much as some people don't like all the money spent and everything else, I don't tend not to have a problem with it. But I've got a real problem with PSG now because they went and bullied Gazalek, and they've also apparently killed Marco Verratti because he's not going to the Euro. So I'm now boycotting PSG or ever cheering them on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, as you rightly said, Verratti has confirmed this week he won't be going to the Euros, which is a massive disappointment. And he wasn't in action as PSG, as you rightly said, kind of steamrolled Gazalek, friends of the pod.
Unnecessarily, they've already won the title.
Exactly.
Come on, have a day off.
Could have just let them win, couldn't they? The sad part, of course, is that they started with Edinson Cavani up front, who was trying to prove a point, and he did so with a hat trick. And of course, Zlatan, he had to score, didn't he? He grabbed a late fourth, so very comfortable for PSG. Gazalek, though, I mean, they're still alive just about. 1 win in 7 is the concern. That 1 win could prove to be crucial, but they have to win away at Lorient. Less said the better. And to be honest, again, as a Lorient fan, I can confirm 100% that all of Lorient's players are not only on the beach, they're underwater building sandcastles as they go. So they are completely gone. You know, nobody at Lorient cares. That's a bit harsh, but they are very much beatable. And if Gazalek go to Le Moustoir and turn up, they could well win. Obviously, the plastic pitch is the issue, so it's how well Gazalek can adjust to that. But they have to win, obviously, at Lorient, and I hope that Toulouse lose. Try saying that when you had a few. But it's going to be tough for them. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be tough, but they're in with a fighting chance, which, given their budget, as we've mentioned on this pod before, is a minor miracle in itself. And as for PSG, 5 straight wins, normal service has been resumed. Scored 20 goals in those 5 games, so they've been quite entertaining as well. They're on for the treble, just for a change. Of course, they've won one trophy, and they've got another one coming up. Won 2 trophies, and another one coming up in the final against Marseille in the Coupe de France. So pretty decent season for PSG, but they'll still look back on that Champions League semi, particularly after how Man City went out to Real Madrid in midweek, and think what could have been.
Yeah, I must say your under the sea analogy was fantastic. I got a brilliant image in my head of Rafael Guerrero flipping burgers with SpongeBob SquarePants for some reason.
Yes, never even thought about that. Genius.
Anyway, we'll move on quickly before my mind completely warps the listeners. Now, Marseille, good lord, they won. I don't know what else to say.
No, amazing. Poor game. It's their first win in, can you imagine, 6 months. I mean, we're all Arsenal fans on here. Can you imagine what our fans would do if they didn't win at home for 6 months? My goodness. But yeah, Marseille, I mean, their fans are not happy still. Let's get that straight out. They're still not happy.
Are they still playing the Benny Hill music?
That wasn't in, well...
Oh, sorry, that was against them, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, they are still a clown car club, and there's still massive amounts needs to change for them to be back. Unless, of course, they beat PSG in the final, which you never know. It'd be very Marseille, but yes, they did get the win. Michy Batshuayi, just for a change, got the winner. It's his 17th league goal of the season, which would suggest to me that he could be on the move, even though he signed a new contract. So he bagged the winner. But to be perfectly honest, this result was more about what it means for Ram. 2 wins in 12. They look like a side doomed to me. They finish at home to Lyon, which is not the most ideal of games you could pick out to need to win. Obviously, Lyon still need that point to clinch second, and you would fully expect them to go there and probably win. And it is a must-win game for Rams, so I'm not really confident. 1 clean sheet in 29 games, with the likes of Lacazette and Gazal and Cornet in form. Although Cornet probably will miss the game injured, but I don't fancy their chances. And it's another club that, they're on a small budget, and that they've kind of been one of those clubs that you thought would have gone by now a long time ago, but this could be the season that they eventually do bite the bullet and exit to Ligue 2. But it's all close on the final day.
Yeah, I'm dreading to think what the permutations are, because I'm looking at the table now. It's horrendous. But before we get to that, let's get the other results from around the league.
Yes, so as we said, Bordeaux beating Lorient. We covered that, the mighty 90. Nantes lost at home to Caen. Andy Delort back on the score sheet there with a penalty. Lille Guingamp stank the joint out with a 0-0 draw. It was a wretched game, I have to say. Montpellier beat Rennes. My little friend Casimir Ninga back on the score sheet. If you haven't seen it, do see it. It's an absolute rocket. Boudabouz with the second, with an Ninga assist, I might add. And also Bastia beat Angers by 1-0. Kozak with the winning goal there. Player I quite like, I must admit. And Toulouse, huge victory for them. It was only against Troyes, but they still needed to go out and win it, and they did win it by 1-0 from Oscar Trejo, which just about keeps them above water.
Well, good stuff. Now, do you want to go through the extensive table and who can finish where? Actually, it's probably not best if you go for who just finished where, because we'll be here for hours.
Oh, we would, yeah. I'll try and get through it as quick as I can. So we know PSG have won it. They could finish on 95. They could finish on 98 points because they got a midweek game against Bordeaux. So if they win those last 2, they could finish on 98 points. So they've won the title away and gone. Lyon, as we say, need 1 point to be mathematically sure of second place. Although Monaco, in truth, would have to win by, I think it's 22 goal margin to get second. So I think it's quite unlikely. But 65 points for Lyon, they're going to finish second. Monaco have 62 points in third. Nice have 60 points in fourth. So obviously Nice could leapfrog. I will just give you these fixtures as I go along. Nice are playing away at Guingamp. And we already covered Monaco at home to Montpellier. St Etienne are in 5th on 58 points, just a point clear of Lille in 6th on 57. So they're battling to try and leapfrog those two. Lille would have to have a goal swing of 5 goals. So I think it's unlikely for them. But St Etienne win, and Nice lose could see St Etienne into the Europa League spots. So, yeah, that's all to play for. You've got Rennes, Caen, Angers, Montpellier make up the top 10. Bordeaux, Nantes, Marseille, Bastia, Guingamp and Lorient all safe. And then you've got, it's going to be any 2 from 3. Troyes are gone, as we know. Then you've got Ram on 36 points in 19th. You've got Gazlak Ajaccio currently in that 3rd relegation spot on 37 points. Also Toulouse on the same 37 points, but their goal difference is 9 better than Gazalak. So basically, if they all lose, or they all win, or they all draw, then the 2 that are down already will go down. But if one of them wins, it could all change. Ram are at home, as we said, to Lyon. So tough for them. Gazalak, as we said, away at Lorient. And Toulouse, who are probably in the box set because they've got an away tie at Angers, who have got nothing to play for, safe in 9th. So if I had to put money on it, I would probably say we're going to lose Gazalek. I really hope I'm wrong, and I'll quite happily take a Lorient defeat by 63 goals to nil, just to see Gazalek survive. But I've got a feeling Toulouse are going to get out of it.
Oh, well, there you go, folks. Kris has relegated them before they've even had a chance to fight for it. It's terrible.
I really hope I'm wrong, though.
Have you got any news for us this week?
Just a really quick one, really. Well, two quick ones, I guess. Michel Platini has resigned, so that's kind of French news from FIFA. We kind of thought that might happen after his ban was upheld. I think it's reduced by 2 months, but he still walked, so he's gone. And a bit of breaking news tonight. There's a lot of talk in England about Alex Lacazette potentially being West Ham's big money transfer that David Gold has delighted everybody by coming out in the media and speaking openly about. Well, not according to Jean-Michel Aulas, the Lyon president, who came out with a quote this evening at time of recording about an hour ago, saying it is likely 80% Lacazette stays. This is a scoop. I'm taking everyone to Saint-Tropez next Sunday. Nice work if you can get it. In the next 2 days, we'll have discussions with Lacazette. He's a big boy, so am I. Insert your own joke there. We will not have a repeat of what happened last summer. So don't forget, last summer he stayed. So I don't know if there's a coded message in that, but I still think he'll go. I don't want to speculate on where because it might upset me. But you never know. Champions League, he does love the club. Big plans. If Fekir stays as well, you never know. He might just get one more year out of it. But I wouldn't put any money on it. So, yeah, we shall have to see.
It will be exciting summer for the Euros anyway, whether the transfer nonsense will... I suppose sometimes it's exciting if your club signs people. But there we go. And that's all of it from Liga.
Indeed. I shall take back the reins, and just got a couple of leagues to skim through very quickly because there's some quite big announcements in leagues this week. So we'll skip across to the best of the rest. Okay, I've picked out Holland and Romania, or the Netherlands, because it upsets some people if you say Holland, but the Netherlands and Romania this week. Now, Romania in particular, because, and I will just skip through this very quickly because the names I will butcher, I'm sure. When you think of Romanian football and you think of teams that have won the Romanian league, you always think of Steaua Bucharest. Well, don't anymore, because we have new champions in Romania now. We have Astra. Not the car, I should stress, but they might all drive Astras, I don't know. But they have won the Romanian league, cutting Steaua Bucharest's years of dominance, I think it's fair to say. So they've won it 48 points clear, and Steaua Bucharest 8 points back. So new champions in Romania. Congratulations to Astra and everything about them. So good luck to them. That's where I'll leave Romania because I don't want to get into the names. It will only go wrong. Let's skip across to Holland / the Netherlands. The end of the regular season. There is, of course, playoffs in Holland, which I'll come on to in a second. But going into it, it looked like Ajax had the title pretty much sewn up because coming into it, Ajax and PSV level on points. Ajax were away at De Graafschap. A mid-table side, you thought, yeah, they'll probably win that comfortably. And PSV were away at PEC Zwolle, who are also a mid-table side. You thought, yeah, they win it. Well, it all went a bit wrong for Ajax because they didn't win it. They drew 1-1 with De Graafschap. So a goal from Yunus for Ajax, and then Smeets got an equaliser. And Ajax battered them for the last 10 minutes, but they couldn't find the winner. And they drew 1-1, while PSV, meanwhile, went 1-3-1. Locadia and Luc de Jong with a double, and one back for Boye for Zwolle, but it wasn't enough for them. So PSV are your new Dutch champions, and they didn't have to celebrate. A couple of things I retweeted on our podcast stream. So PSV once again Dutch champions. Ajax, I think, have a funny feeling. Drew might be able to talk about this next time he's on. I think the De Boers might be off, and I've got a certain suspicion they might end up in Merseyside next season. So watch this space. But yeah, it's kind of an end of an era for Ajax, who surrender the title. PSV are there. Down the bottom, Canberra have gone. And then you've got this kind of weird playoff system now. We're in the they call it the final stage. We got Groningen against Heracles and Pek Zwolle against Utrecht. It's a bit of a weird kind of system. The Zwolle Utrecht game is for the the two games are for the UEFA Europa League playoff spots. So it's all a bit random. It's all a bit confusing, and you've got Willem II and De Graafschap in the playoff spots down the bottom as well. So I wouldn't try and put it any clearer than that because it's very confusing. But we'll stay across it. When everything is officially settled, we'll let you know. So there you go. Congratulations to Astra and congratulations to PSV Eindhoven. Right, let's move on then. And we'll nip across and put the spotlight on another player. It's a Premier League player this week for the Hipsters Choice. Okay then, so who have we gone for this week? Well, he's been tearing up trees and not even getting many starts. And he certainly is a player very much for the present as well as the future. And he'll be managed by a certain Pep Guardiola next season. And it is Manchester City's Nigerian, Kelechi Iheanacho. So what do we know about this young gentleman? Well, Kelechi Promise Iheanacho, to give him his full name, was born on October the 3rd, 1996, making him 19. He is Nigerian, he's 6 foot 1.5 tall, and he weighs 170 pounds. He's Manchester City's number 72. What a number. He's a forward and he plays left-footed predominantly. He's a Nike client. He wears the Mercurial Vapor X Silos. He is on social media at 67 Kelechi is his Twitter handle, and Instagram Kelechi72 is his handle there, and we will of course post some highlights on YouTube as well. So he was born in the province of Emo. I presume it's Emo because I can't imagine it's actually pronounced Emo, but if it is, that's brilliant. In Nigeria, as a youth, he played for Tai Academy of Owerri. Sorry, pronunciation is going to be not good here. I apologise. Emo's capital, and it's the largest city. In 2013, he represented Nigeria in the Under-17 World Cup in the United Arab Emirates, scoring 6 goals and assisting 7 as the Super Eaglets won the Under-17s tournament for the 4th time. He was awarded the tournament's Golden Ball for the best player and Silver Boot for his 6 goals. His impressive performances attracted the interest of a number of European clubs. He signed his first pre-contract and would then become a fully fledged player for Manchester City on his 18th birthday. It was reported that he turned down offers from both Arsenal, surprise surprise, and Manchester United in favour of City, with his father saying, "We prayed and after talks with the family members we came up with Manchester City, believing it was his future to be here." He officially joined City's academy on January the 10th, 2014 and was invited to the club's pre-season tour ahead of the 2014-15 season, and despite not having professional terms signed with the club at that point, he scored in the opening tour match against Sporting Kansas City in a 4-1 win and against AC Milan. Due to work permit issues, he trained with Columbus Crew until October 2014 and didn't make his English debut. A UEFA Europa League youth game against Schalke in February 2015 was that date. He continued to represent Manchester City's under-21s for the rest of the 14-15 season. After an impressive pre-season tour in Australia, he was promoted to the senior squad ahead of the 15-16 season. Iheanacho made his competitive debut on August the 29th, 2015, replacing Raheem Sterling for the final minute of the 2-0 victory over Watford at the Etihad, and he scored his first competitive goal, replacing Wilfried Bony in a match against Crystal Palace. Scored the only goal of the game, in fact. And his first career hat-trick came on January 30th, 2016 against Aston Villa. Surprise, surprise. In a 4th round FA Cup tie, and he made his UEFA Champions League debut in a 0-0 draw with Real Madrid, although he had made the bench in previous games. In 2015-16 to date, Iheanacho has made a total of 31 appearances for Man City in all competitions and scored 13 goals. Pretty impressive. 7 of them have come in the league, and he's arguably City's second choice striker at the moment, having fended off competition of the likes of Dzeko and Stevan Jovetic, who of course have gone to Italy. He's generally employed as one of the outside of the 3 midfielders, or as a late replacement as far as Sergio Aguero goes up front. He can play in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 system. And dubbed as the future of Nigerian football, a long-term replacement for JJ Okocha, Iheanacho has an eye for a pass, he's full of trickery and has a powerful shot. He isn't the paciest, but he's got great movement and the ball control, and he can play a variety of attacking positions. He's also got a knack of scoring goals despite being in and out as a centre forward. Hold-up play and winning the ball in the air don't really seem to be his thing, despite being almost 6'2". And one of his most remarkable characteristics is his confidence and cool demeanour, which is quite rare for a 19-year-old. And he has, of course, been a part of the Nigerian system since the under-13 level, which is incredible when you think about it. Finally, his appearances then. So he's had 24 appearances for City, 5 starts, 610 minutes. This season, of course, 7 goals, 1 assist, no red cards, no yellows. Averages 12 passes per game, with a pass success percentage of 78.5, and he's been man of the match once. Right, so you guys have seen a little bit of him. Obviously, being Arsenal fans, we've seen quite a lot of Man City. In fact, we saw quite a lot of them yesterday. What do you make of him? Tom, I'll start with you. What's your kind of thoughts on Kelechi, and how big do you think he could be?
I'm very surprised by him, especially because of the fact he plays for Manchester City and of how he's worked his way into the squad. When you think about the likes they're spending plus 30 million on Wilfried Bony, who's come in, and this kid who's only 19 years old is coming in and doing so well and keeping him out of the team. As you say, he kept with Jovetic and Dzeko being sold, and he's been brought through, and now he's keeping Bony out of the team. It's really impressive. I mean, 7 league goals. Technically 6, because I don't count the one he scored against Swansea, which basically was just smacked off him by Yaya Toure. But no, it's an impressive tally for a guy of that age. I mean, we've been raving about Iwobi at Arsenal, but this guy seems to be on a different level still. And for someone who's quick, and you know what I'm like with my players, I like when a player's tall and quick at the same time, with a bit of a physical presence about him, and I get that with him. And I think there's credit to him in the game at the weekend that he was picked to start over Bony with Aguero against Arsenal. I mean, that shows the faith that the manager's already got him at that sort of age. It's quite impressive. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, and I can't see him. I mean, it is City, and Pep's coming in. And it'll be interesting to see what he has for him, because he's always been a decent player at bringing through youth. When you looked at Barcelona with the likes of Busquets and Pedro that came through, so maybe he can do wonders with him as a youth player as well. So we never know, but I like the guy, and I hope he succeeds in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not against Arsenal, though.
No, of course, no.
Not that we're biased whatsoever.
No, of course, never on this parish. And John, what do you make of him? Do you think you could see sort of Pep doing similar to what he's done with Kingsley Coman, for example, and maybe sort of blooding him, and then eventually having him as a kind of first name on the team sheet, because he seems to be good enough?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a player that age to have Guardiola coming in, that's amazing, and he's clearly very confident for someone his age to be in that team with some of the superstar names and the money that is flying around in that squad as well, and to be able to exert an influence on a game and score some really good goals. He's, even when they don't really get talked about, but even a tap in, it's all about positioning and timing, getting those runs right, and having that instinct. That's really, really great ability to have. And it's quite funny. Nigeria have always tended to have good players anyway, but this current crop of sort of youngsters that they've got coming through, and some of the ones that are just sort of a few years below Inacio, and as Tom said, like Iwobi at Arsenal, they've got a really, really exciting national team. So I'll be interested to see what he can do on an international stage as well. But he's probably got one of the best managers to come in to help him develop. Because if he's getting played under Pep, then he's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And we of course encourage your thoughts. If you are a City fan listening to this and you want to share your thoughts, please do, and we'll get them replied to and read out. But he certainly does look like a talent, and all power to him for getting into that side with the amount of money that they've got there. Fair play to him. Wish you all the best. Right, of course, should say at this point, if you do want to check out our previous Hipsters Choices, if you haven't heard our podcast before and you want to listen to a couple of other players we've done lots. Seeing as this is episode 29, we've done 29. And if you go on our website, which is the footballhipsters.co.uk, you can have a look at the tab marked Hipsters Choice, and there's even time checks for you, so you can actually quickly zizz through. And I've made up a word there, ziz. And you can listen to the previous Hipsters Choices that we've done. Some good names in there. Right, let's wrap up the show then with your questions answered. And it's this week's Onion Bag. Okay, then we're going to whip through these, gentlemen, because in the interest of time, we've just got a couple of good questions here. So I'm going to start with Jimmy, who was very kind to send me a question personally yesterday. So it'd be rude of me not to answer it. He says, "Ahoy, you scurvy dog! My question is: at the moment, Lyon have central midfielders coming out of their ears. Behave, people. I.e., Gonalon, Ferry, Dardere, Fofana, Movember." And most recently the rise of Tolisso. Do you foresee them parting ways with any of those players? And if so, who would be most likely? And the also says not to mention Grenier, who for some reason has been deployed there once this season. Good question, Jimmy. Thank you for listening as always. I do think that they are slightly top heavy. What I would say is that Sergi Dardere, for example, can play further forward of the midfield three, as indeed can Clement Grenier, as you mentioned there. And I think you could probably see a couple of them being switched out positionally. Tolisso as well is also very creative. Whilst he is a sort of defensive type of player, he can play further forward. And Ferry is getting on a bit in age. I think he's probably more of a squad player now. But they are overloaded. But to be perfectly honest with you, Lyon are overloaded with talent full stop. Looking at Cornet and Gazal as well as the attacking players, and they've got quite a few coming through, and of course that's not even mentioning Fekir. So to answer your question, Jimmy, yes, I could see one or two of them moving on, but if they don't, they've got a hell of a setup going into next season. Interesting. Right, let's have another question then, and Tom has very kindly put these into a group for me. So Tom, should we start with a La Liga question? And it comes from Frank McClintock. Is Atletico's loss to Levante being overanalyzed? Surely people must understand the focus is on the final in Milan.
I don't think it is being overanalyzed personally. I think that Atletico will be very quite upset that they didn't take advantage of this and didn't keep up with Barcelona. I think there is a lot riding on the Champions League final, obviously, but with 2 matches to go, I mean, one against a team that's already been relegated, you want to at least keep pace with the team at the top if there are any slip-ups from them. So I think it's a shame that they've gone out at this stage, and maybe it shows some vulnerability in the side. But I think they will be disappointed. I don't think it's being overanalyzed or whatever. I think that it is right to criticise them for not keeping it up to the end of the season. But obviously you got that little thing about the Champions League final. But I mean, that Liga as a trophy is still huge for a team like Atletico. So to just throw it away at the risk of a final that you haven't necessarily won is a bit silly in my eyes. So I'm a bit critical of it, and I don't think it's being overanalyzed at all.
No, good question. John, I'm going to give you a German question because it's one of the ones that Drew didn't get a chance to answer. So it comes from, I think it's a new listener actually that Danny put in touch with us, Bobby Chakraborty. I think that's how you pronounce it, at Boblex. He says, what do you guys think of Hummels saying that he wants to go to Bayern Munich, if indeed he does? What do you make of that, John? Because he's not the first, is he?
No, it's a strange position because he used to be at Bayern Munich as a youngster, and he wasn't deemed quite good enough. And then he ended up at Dortmund, and obviously everyone knows how well he's done. It's awkward because he criticised quite openly Mario Götze for joining Bayern Munich, and obviously Hummels is the captain, and to come out before the season's even finished and say, I don't know if it's actually official that he said these things, but apparently he has said he wants to join Bayern, and he's told the owners that. It doesn't look very good. If you were going to do it, I would have waited till at least till the end of the season. I understand why he would want to move, because moving to Bayern, you are going to win things, and ultimately, if you're a footballer, that's what you want to do is to win medals and to get honours. There is an argument to say that you stay at Dortmund and try and battle Bayern Munich, but maybe he's just sort of come to accept that the only way to do it is to jump ship. I think Bayern Munich probably will go for him, I suspect. I can see them sort of reverting back to the, I think Drew was talking about it last week, the more traditional Bayern style that Pep's kind of moved away from. And some of their defenders might possibly be moving out of the club. So I think Dortmund fans certainly showed their disgust at what he'd said. There was lots of people with Hummel shirts with big crosses with his name through, and he was roundly booed when he came on by the yellow wall as well. So it doesn't look very good.
Not happy bunnies. No, absolutely. Two quick questions here that Drew has answered kindly. The first was from Korosh at Kaimo_78 Gunner. He's wanted to ask Drew about a player that you might have seen a bit of in the Eredivisie who's been linked with Arsenal, funnily enough, and that's Vincent Janssen. Korosh was saying, will he be a hipster's choice, or could you describe the player a little? So Drew has sent me an email. He says, on the surface, Janssen is a very targetable striker. He's mobile centre forward. He holds the ball up well, brings others into play, and he's quite willing to take a crack at goal. See shots in the match. He says around about 4.4 on average. The issue with him is twofold. He's only 21, and this is his first real season at AZ. And two, goals are not exactly hard to come by in the Eredivisie, as only sides that can well and truly defend are Ajax, PSV and Feyenoord. It's with that knowledge that people should understand his goal record against the big three this season was incredibly poor. Dutch players who leave early for big clubs in England rarely do well, while the Dutch players that have shone in the Premier League hit expectations of higher, coming older than Janssen's age. He's not ready to lead the line for a club of Arsenal size, so either he has a second voice behind him, either he has to be the second voice behind someone like Giroud so he can learn, or he needs to be what I call a bumper move to a club at the bottom, on a level between AZ and Arsenal, so somewhere sort of in between, I guess, where he could continue to be first choice without the pressure, so he can continue his progress and development. Depay utterly failed at United this season and should be a cautionary tale for those who target players from the Eredivisie. And if Giroud stays, he should come. If Giroud is sold, we should look elsewhere to risk stagnation. So thank you, Drew. That's a nice in-depth answer. I like it. And I'll get Drew's other question that he answered out of the way as well, which was also from Bobby. He wanted to know Drew's opinion on Mario Götze, whether he thinks he should move to Liverpool. Do he thinks the club would suit his style? And Drew comes back with, Klopp knows how to get the best out of him, but it would depend on who they have at the club, and would he be used at 10? He said a return to Dortmund would also suit him rather nicely. So yeah, I could see that, weirdly. It would cause quite a stir if it happened, but I could see it. Right, let's go back to another one. This one comes in from, actually I'll take Kat's now, who's our technical assistant, is Kat. She does a wonderful job for the website, so thank you, Kat. She is at Koi Guna's Girl. How is Debussy doing at Bordeaux? Do you think he will be seeking to stay in France? Yes, I do, Kat. Is a straightforward answer to that one. I think he will stay. He certainly won't come back to Arsenal. I don't think with Hector Bellerin in there, I think he knows realistically he's not going to get a game. He's the wrong side of 30 now. The French league sort of suits his age now and his aging legs. He's been all right at Bordeaux, to be fair. I mean, he had a little bit of a spell injured, which obviously he's an ex-Arsenal player. That's standard, goes with the territory. But yeah, I mean, he's had a decent sort of run with Bordeaux. It's a club that suits his style as well, playing in that position. He's had 8 appearances and slowly working his way back to fitness. So yeah, I do think he'll stay in Bordeaux, or at the very least he'll stay in France. He is on loan, of course, from Arsenal, so there is every chance Arsenal could call him back, but I think the only chance that really there is to call him back to then sell him on. So do keep an eye on other teams. I could also see him ending up at a sort of a St Etienne type of club as well. So there will be rivals for his signature, but he will stay in France, in my opinion. Another one for you, Tom. How well, this is from Martin Morgan at Welsh Gunner 95. How well has Krychowiak played this season for Sevilla? Excuse me. Could he still be a decent signing for someone? Hint, hint, Arsenal.
See, this has been a question that's I've been rattling around in my own head, because obviously I like Krychowiak as a player. He was good at Bordeaux and he'd done well when he came to Sevilla as well. But this season, it's been a bit of a fluctuating flow to it. He's in a team which hasn't won away all season. I know you can't put that down to one player, but he's certainly a factor in that as a defensive midfielder. But I think he's someone who, if he's in the right team with the right coaching, hint, hint, Arsenal, you could see it working. And he's good on the ball. He can score goals. He's very physical. He's a bit of a leader on the pitch, and he works well with his teammates. He's partial to the odd mistake, but his interceptions are brilliant. I mean, me and Drew were looking at, and he beats Xhaka and Coquelin for interceptions by a huge amount this season. So that's a side of his game, similarly to Kante, that he's good at. But yeah, I think he's worth taking a punt on for a club who's in the Champions League, especially seeing as Sevilla might not have that if they don't win the Europa this season. So we'll have to see. But he is a good player. But it is a bit hit and miss considering the form of Sevilla as a whole this season.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. Hopefully,
Fair to say, though, that it won't just be Arsenal looking at him if he is available.
No, absolutely not. No, and I think he could well be available at the right price. John, kind of an amusing one to ask you last before, but it's two of the questions that I'm going to...
Always get the funny ones.
You do, don't you? Well, it's from Tim Hardwick, who's a well-known Arsenal Twitterer, at Arsenal owner. He just tweeted us and said, "At what point in your mind did you say this is a goal when De Bruyne hit the shot against Arsenal yesterday?"
I think I've said in my head. I think it was a goal before he'd even hit the ball.
Yeah,
taken the actual shot. I think it was literally as he'd sort of taken the first one or two touches of the dribble, and I thought, oh, he's running at our defence. Yeah, that's a goal. Yeah, I think, as I said on our other podcast, we do the Bergkamp Wonderland. We do a little radio show. I said then I thought Czech was a little bit slowing down, but De Bruyne is a fantastic player, and he's been really impressive this season for Man City. I'm kind of sad that Arsenal never went for him. Weird that, as you know, I normally moan about the amount of sort of number 10 and creative players we have at the club, but he really is exciting. But yeah, I did think as soon as he sort of picked the ball up, oh well, that's it, he scored.
Yeah. Goal. Right, our final question before I give a nod to somebody from homework is from a new follower of ours, CSmiler20 at CSMiller20. He wanted to ask us all, and in the interest of time, I'm going to restrict you to a one-word answer and a one-sentence description. He wants to know, if you were starting a team from scratch, which manager would you hire today and why? So you can give me one name and one brief sentence as to why. John, I'll start with you.
Oh God. Di Francesco.
You can say
that. Tactical flexibility and yeah, there you go. That was short.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough for me. We can expand on this maybe during our Euros, because Europods, that'd be fun. And Tom, I know where you're going to go with this, but go on.
Yeah, you know I'm going to say Simeone, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's I wouldn't have him at Arsenal, and we've gone through it a billion times because I don't think he has the squad there. But when you're talking about making a team from scratch, he creates a team that is the anti of many, like a large percentage of the teams that are out there. I mean, you can look at that from what he's built at Atletico, with defeating Bayern and Barcelona and winning La Liga with a team that's completely anti the majority of style that is in that league. And if you want to build a team, it might not be that fun to watch on a regular basis, but when you're coming away from a game and you've won all 3 points, you come away a happy man. So I think that Simeone would be, in my opinion, the perfect manager to start a team from scratch with.
Yeah, it's a fair argument, and I'll answer it as well. I'm going to go outside the box, actually. Because,
what a surprise!
I know, yeah, it's really surprising, isn't it? But no, I'm going to pick two, but very briefly, I'm going to go with with Thomas Tuchel from Dortmund, just because I just think he's going to be very, very good. I really do. I just think he's a coach. Almost what John said there. He's flexible. He's got good tactics. He seems to know exactly what he's doing at any one time. And barring a catastrophic game against Spurs during the Europa League, I think he's against Spurs, against Liverpool. He seems to be able to adjust his tactics in game, and I really rate him. The other one, I'll give a nod to Claude Puel at Nice, by the way, who I really like. But the other one I'm actually going to go for, which is a really, really outside the box one, is the Olympiacos coach, who I say the coach. I should probably actually give you his name, which is Marco Silva, Portuguese coach. I think he's done a magnificent job. I know it's not difficult to win. Well, say not difficult. It probably shouldn't be difficult to win the Greek Super League. They won it by 30 points this season, by the way. But he's really impressed me. Really has. I think again, tactically aware. He knows how to beat the big sides. You saw what he did when he brought his Olympiacos side to London, to Arsenal this season. And I think he could be quite a big manager. Hopefully not Mourinho-esque, but the Portuguese sort of similarities are there. So, yeah, I think Marco Silva could be a big manager in football in the future. So, yeah, there you go. I've answered my question by giving 3 answers. Typical me, but couldn't split them. So there you go.
I
Right.
would have also accepted Arsene Wenger 98 to 2004 or Alex Ferguson 93 to 2011.
I was going to say Michel just for a laugh, or maybe Bruce Rioch. Owen
Sam
Coyle.
Allardyce.
Yeah. So
Oh, hey, Bruce Rioch got Dennis Bergkamp. I'll forever love that man for that.
I think it's the only thing he actually did do, but still.
Mean.
Yeah, indeed. The final question we had is going to be probably long-term homework because it's going to take quite a bit of time to research, but I'll give it a nod. Gunner Outpost, who, by the way, I have not forgotten your blog, good sir. I just haven't had time to get it edited and put up yet, but I will. But he wanted to ask us, I'd love to see a best Bosman 11 for players with contract expiry at the end of next season. So in other words, people who are going to be on a free at the end of next season. So I'll do some research for you, Mr. Outpost, and I'll see what I can come up with. A lot of free agents around this summer, particularly in the French league. So do stay tuned. Certain Ben Arthur and Kulu and Mandanda and
Maybe we could do like a combined couple from each league or something like that.
That might be a way around it. We'll all put our heads together and
chip
come
one
up
in.
with a each. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. So we might try and have that for next week for you. What a way to end the season. So there we go. Okay, super. Well, thank you to everyone who chucked us in a question again. We do try and get to all of them if we can. Sometimes with the interest of time, we have to chop a few off, but we got to all of them this week. So thank you very much. We do appreciate it. A couple of quick plugs then before we go. We have a poll up on our Twitter page at the moment at the FH Podcast. If you go to our Twitter page, you'll see it, and it's basically a poll about our Euros podcast. There's around about a day left, or 23 hours to be exact, as I look at it now. And the question is, the European football season is soon over, next week, in fact, barring the cups, of course. So for the Euros, we are going to do some pods, just to keep you guys entertained, hopefully. We want to know, do you want us to do half-hour daily podcasts, 2 1-hour podcasts a week, the normal 1 hour or the normal one pod a week with an hour and a half ish, or random pop-up shows every time we fancy it? And at the moment, half-hour daily pods is winning. Just 34% of you want those, 31% of you want 2 1-hour pods a week, 21% of you want the normal one pod a week, and 14% of you want random pop-up shows. So do get into the vote. We've had 121 votes, which is great. Let's try and get some more votes in. So do click the button and choose your favourite medium, if you will. If it ends up being daily pods, I promise they will be short because we don't want to bore you to tears. But we will be across the Euros, so do tune in for those. And 2 other very quick plugs for you. We are doing, I'm doing a podcast this week it's a special with our friend Simon Collins, who we've interviewed before. For those of you that don't know him, he's a football journalist and has been working very closely with a certain Leicester City this season, covering a lot.
Drew the short straw, didn't he, in the office, they said, at the start of the season.
They all mocked him, didn't they? But he's been following Leicester and the dilly-dong, dilly-ding crowd. And Claudio, he's spoken to Claudio in person and a lot of the Leicester players. So he will be doing, and we will be doing, a Leicester City special. Around about an hour long, just talking about the achievement and what's happened with Leicester fans. So if you know anybody who's a Leicester fan, or if you know any forums or anything that might appeal to Leicester fans, do give them a nudge, because it might be worth tuning in for. It should be a lot of fun. So me and Simon will be doing that this week. So definitely tune in for that. And of course, the English Breakfast. Myself, Danny and Ross, we did an hour and a half yesterday. Long bumper show, covering all the ups and downs of the Football League final day, and of course the Premier League as usual. And we got some questions as well. It was a really good pod yesterday. So if you haven't encountered the English Breakfast pod, it gets recorded after the games of the Sunday night, and we put it out that night so you can get it for a Monday morning. So do tune in and give that a listen as well. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Anything else you want to say, gentlemen? You all done?
Just farewell, Luca Toni. I will forever miss you.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah, no, after that, sure.
I was going to sing the Luca Toni, Rigatoni really bad German techno song, but I can't remember it all.
I don't think anyone really needs to hear that. To be honest, I think our ears have been assaulted with the SAS song by you enough times. So
I do have something to say, actually.
Go on.
2 things, 2 quick things. First of all, it's a shout out to John Driscoll, who broke his leg in 4 places. Our previous hipster interview guest.
Yes, ouch.
So best wishes to him, playing walking football from what I've heard, which is quite impressive.
It is.
To do that. And second of all is we could do a quick announcement that I've got another interview with Tim Armitage, who was the Austrian guy we had on way long ago at the end of the season to cover Red Bull Salzburg and Austria. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And myself and John are working hard on getting a couple of people on for end of season reviews. I know I can exclusively reveal Rich Allen of the French Football Weekly podcast has agreed to do a French review for me. So we'll be doing that. And myself and John are working hard to get the lovely Mina back on to do a little Serie A roundup and a bit of a preview for the Euros as well, aren't we, John? So hopefully we'll get Mina back as well.
Yes, that'd be lovely.
Touch wood. Hopefully it'll all go well. Right, well, that's it from us. Thank you ever so much for tuning in as well. We do appreciate it. As usual, click the usual places. Subscribe to us in iTunes, leave us a little review, subscribe on YouTube, and you can get us on Stitcher and all sorts as well. So keep listening. Keep it Football Hipsters. Keep it tuned. Keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. And we'll be back in your ears for the final time this domestic season, league-wise at least, this time next week. And we'll speak to you then.
Mais le corner. Oh, quel geste! Quel geste! L'égalisation de Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Andres Iniesta, se anima Andres. Andres tocó la evolución de Neymar. Messi.
Versucht alles aus sich rauszuholen, verfolgt von Schmelzer. Müller, vorbei an Weidenfeller. Müller, Bayern München ist Pokalsieger.
Che può battere Insigne con il destro a giro, ad rete, favoloso, si gonfia la rete, favoloso!